the first addiction I really consciously ended was chewing tobacco. And that was just literal, I had nicotinic receptors that were in a plethora. And when I didn't chew tobacco, much like smoking, they didn't get fed. And then it felt like I was dying because I had to sit in this very uncomfortable space of not getting what I wanted. And that, ironically, was also mirroring what I had unprocessed. But then it led to then looking at alcohol and then booty calls. Like, I gotta tell you, when I consciously chose not to text to get intimacy, I remember just sitting there with my phone being like, why does this hurt so much? Like, this doesn't make sense, but there's like this intimacy is treating, arousal was treating parts of myself that I couldn't sit with, not being chosen, being hurt, betrayals that I hadn't processed. And that 21 days, it was probably around that. But what got recoded was, and what I find, because you were saying, it's not like a light, you just do it and it's done. Like I was stuck and now I'm unstuck. I just find that you find other places where stuckness exists and you're always growing. So you're like moving out of what is now. And what I found was that I no longer desired alcohol, things like that, because I started to fall in love with the present moment. So I'm curious, is there like a science to that? Is there, and can you speak more to where you've gotten to? And I don't know if it mirrors what I'm talking about in any way. But yeah, can you speak more to that?
I love, love, love what you shared about that, how arousal was treating. Like, it's so, I haven't heard it put like that. It's so well said. So, I mean, the science of detox and withdrawal is out there, and people think detox is only for hard drugs. It's like anything that your brain is habituated, anything your brain's used to having, if you stop having it, you're going to have a physiological, it's not a mindset problem. It's not a willpower problem. You are physiologically going to go through withdrawal. And if you look on YouTube, I don't know if these are still there, but there used to be people that would video themselves coming off of hard drugs so you can see the withdrawal process. And granted, that's a very extreme, like you need medical attention for those. You don't always need medical attention, but it helps to have a visual like that, whether or not you're experiencing that to that degree, that's what's happening to you. And so it's important to name what's happening to you so you can cope with it. So that's the science of
that
the withdrawal
reality
thing.
part.
Yeah. And what you said about falling in love with the present moment is the only place where you exist. So to fall in love with now is to fall in love with your existence and who you are. And when you start to connect with all the parts of yourself, I won't say that I never want, like, I don't have any, it's not hard for me to not do drugs, but I do have I kind of wish they weren't so bad for you because like they're super fun.
Yeah. If I gave any impression that I wouldn't love to smash a good scotch, I 100% would. And, the drugs I did were like weed every once in a while. I never got into any others. And the reason I didn't is because I knew if I did, I'd still be doing them. Like, I knew that cocaine for me, I was too susceptible to things. But alcohol was, because it's so socially acceptable, because it's how people connect. I remember watching this guy give a talk who had given up alcohol and drugs. He was a former investment banker. And I remember he asked, I was in the audience at this personal growth conference, and he said, what is the thing that's most important to you? And I remember being like, oh, like connection. And he said, what is the thing that you've missed out on most due to your addiction? And I was like, oh, connection. Fuck. Like the thing I'm most passionate about and love, I'm actually bypassing and not even fully present for. Like, it just brought so much grief to me. But the good kind, the kind that cooks you, the kind that's like, hey, like, you got to pay attention. Yeah, it's when you get hit by those truths that you're like, oh, I can't undo this. And if I want to undo this, it means I got to go deeper into the addiction.
And not only that, but then because everyone, again, going into this like polarity binary thinking of I hate the parts of me that use drugs and I hate the parts of me that chose to do really terrible things when they were in their active addiction. But, and again, I'm not excusing behavior. Take accountability for your behavior, make amends, do what you need to do. I am saying that you have to fall in love with those parts of you too. The ones that made the really hard choice. I don't need to love your bad part, quote, bad. There are no bad parts. That's Dick Schwartz's work. But like, I don't need to love your protective parts that chose X, Y, and Z, but I do need to love mine. Like, it's my job to love the shadowy, like super icky parts of myself. And then when you get to know them, they're like, oh, like they're actually pretty awesome if properly tended to and not left to their own devices. It was never their job to protect me from the world. That job is mine. And then you release them from having to do things like drugs and sex and whatever. And then you have access to all their energy. It takes a tremendous amount of energy to stay dissociated, disconnected, addicted, distracted. Well, energy doesn't just go away. Once you unburden those parts of you, now you have so much energy. Like, it's insane. And that's where you can start building and expanding and growing and opening to possibility and then have the energy to do it.